man of integrity who stands on his word and remains deeply connected to all the people that are supporting what he has going on. So in an industry driven by ego, he's remained grounded, authentic, and unwavering in his purpose. So I need you guys to real quick make some noise for the one and only Stalley. Everything, discussing the ins and outs of what you've accomplished in your career. So yeah, let's start it off. BJ, I know we kind of went over all this stuff. I know there's a few things like you want to discuss the projects, but you know, from a standpoint of understanding this business, what was that moment that you said to yourself, and this is for you, Stalley. So for you, man, what was that moment that you said, I want to start creating music, and you found your passion to not only create music, but start pursuing it as a career?
Well, honestly, I've pretty much been writing music or writing song lyrics like since I was maybe 14. I started doing that in study hall, you know, because we would get done with our work so fast, and to stop me from getting in trouble, I had to kill time. So me and like two of my friends basically started passing around like a green notebook, and we would like write raps and then send it to the next person, and then be like, finish the rap, and then, you know, and it just became something that we filled up. But the moment that I actually, so I just say that to say that it's always been a part of me. It's always been something that just.
Did you come from a musical family?
Somewhat. You know, I had aunts and uncles who did music and performed live, but nothing like, you know, I guess on a major level. But yeah, like when I really decided was New York City. I was in New York. I was going to school. I stopped going to school. I was trying to figure it out. And I had some guys that I used to skateboard with, and one of them used to actually make production, like produce. And they, you know, would hear me freestyling and all that as we would skateboard. They was like, man, you need to go to the studio. So one day he gave me a pack of beats, or a CD back then. That's how long it was. It was like a CD of beats. And I took that CD to the studio. One of my homies had a studio on 34th Street. And I just used to go in there and write, and he, you know, thank God he used to let me go in there and record for free. And I did the CD, and I recorded the CD. Ironically, the same day he called me one day and was like, yo, the music is done, I mixed and mastered it, come pick it up. So I went, skateboarded up there, grabbed it, went to the shop immediately where my friends worked at. They put it in and started playing it in the store while they was waiting to close up the store so we can go skate. And Mos Def came in.
Oh, wow.
The rapper Mos Def. And when he came in, he stopped, like looking through the racks and was like, who's this playing? You know,
Your first song?
Yeah, my first project. Yeah, it was like,
Wow.
And he stopped and he was just like, who's this playing? And then my homie Kensei, that's what's his name, and he was like, yo, it's him. You know what I'm saying? And then he was like, that's you? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, and then he just nodded like, you know, and then he kept going, you know. And then another record came on, like that song went off, and then another one came on. He stopped again. He's like, hold up, that's you? And I was like, yeah. And then he was like, all right. So then after that, he gave me his number, actually. We exchanged numbers. He's like, man, call, you know, and then the rest was history. Sorry to be long-winded, but I just wanted to give y'all,
bro.
Like, you know,
Mos Def, come on now.
No, and that's when it officially hit, because before, like I said, I would just freestyle on the bus, or while we was skateboarding, or while we was eating a slice of pizza, or rap, you know what I'm saying? And then they was like, no, you really can do it. So that was dope. So shout out to Kensei too. That was the guy who, you know, was producing and really, you know, got me in the studio.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So one thing I noticed that you didn't mention was your love for basketball. And like initially that was your passion, right? And that's what kind of led you to Michigan, right? From there to Long Island, right? To Long Island University, and you got injured, correct? And so at that point, you're pursuing basketball, like that's your main passion.
That was the first.
That was your first love, right? So from there, you injure and you start transitioning to music, correct? What is that like? Like, what were some of the struggles you were going through when you had to kind of figure it all out? There was all this uncertainty.
Yeah.
What, you know, basketball, I'm not going to pursue that. I'm going to music. What were some of the struggles that you were facing at that moment of uncertainty? Because I know a lot of students here are probably in a place right now where they're getting close to getting out of school. There's a lot of uncertainty for them. They're trying to figure it out, wondering where they're going next. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Man, this is like, you know, kind of emotional for me because, you know, I would say music is my first love, and basketball was kind of like my way out. It was like the only way I saw a chance to get out of the small town that I grew up in and that where I was from, because that's all I saw around me was athletes. The only ones that were successful or had a chance to get a career path was usually through sports, so I thought that was my only way. So I was chasing that. Like I was going from city to city, state to state, just trying to, you know, see if, you know, the sports would work for me. But when it didn't, it was crushing because I didn't know what was next, you know. And then luckily I had a teammate of mine who is also like a friend and a brother of mine, who his family actually let me stay with them in Brooklyn, like in Flatbush, Brooklyn, and I just figured it out in New York. You know, I was just like, I can't go back home because I just knew it was nothing there for me. And I just was in New York City thugging it. Like, you know, like I'm talking about in every sense of the word. Like, I was thugging it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm homeless, I'm sleeping on couches, I'm doing whatever I can to, you know, stay in the city. You know, I'm working any type of job that I could. I'm working 2-3 jobs sometimes at a time. I'm renting out basements and I'm renting out rooms from old Haitian ladies. like real, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a movie. But yeah, you know, thank God I met some beautiful people, and I met some of the most compassionate, caring. You know, New York knows, you know, especially New Yorkers, they know a struggle, but they know like brothership and family and uplifting, and they know how, you know, it is to survive. So I had a lot of people who showed me that they believed in me, showed me that there was a way, and not to give up on myself. And it goes back to, you know, I used to, like I said, I used to skateboard with like, I'll say it, I used to skateboard with 30 like Japanese kids, right? Half of them they didn't even really speak English, but they knew that there was something in me that was talented, and they was like, bro, you need to, you know, really do it.
So one thing that stuck out to me was you were saying that, you know, and this was with the sports, that you were going everywhere trying to just make something happen, get recognized. So at this point, when you start transitioning to music, you're gambling on yourself, right? It's like you're just jumping out the window hoping for something. But were you applying that same energy that you were applying with sports into your music? And what were some of the things that you were doing to start getting recognized and building that awareness amongst the industry?
Yeah, man, we don't have enough time. Honestly, we don't.
Well, just give us one or two things that you.
I'll try not to walk, you know, like be long-winded, but
sure.
It's so much, honestly, and like, you know, back to just kind of couch surfing. Like I used to be in a rock band, like that was the first, like for real, like
nice.
I mean, I was like you know, we was like Lincoln Park, I guess, or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
what was the name?
It was Stalley and the Wax Machine. Don't go look that up. Nah, but y'all can, because it's on, you know, it's on. But yeah, and I even slept on their couch. You know what I'm saying? Like, they used to live on like 62nd and Lexington.
Okay.
Like in the city, like, you know, nice area. This was different for me. I'm like, but I'm sleeping on their couch, you know, figuring out. But we making music. And I will say, you know, like I did shows. Like this was when you were like really outside. I was outside. Like I tell people this, and I say it proudly. Like I've performed in every music venue in New York City except for the Madison Square Garden. I've even performed at the Barclays.
Wow. Like,
you know what I'm saying? But I literally performed everywhere. Anywhere there was a stage and a microphone and they would allow me, I was there. And you know, starting back with the Wax Machine, we did it old school. We was performing at CBGB's when it was still open. We was performing at the Knitting Factory, all these like, you know, classic venues, and we were had an email list. You know, and we would just email people, yo, we jamming out this weekend, come pull up, you know, and people would show up. And it eventually became like a kind of a cult following. and that's where, you know, I kind of got my first name around the city of New York, you know, and then I started doing, but before that, you know, I was still rapping and making, but with them is when I really got on the live show circuit and really got my face out there.
Okay, so so around that time is when you start realizing the grind is kind of taking off for you. What was there a specific moment that you're like, all right, I'm on, like this is it?
Ooh, I guess when I first got a paid show. you know, I got a little bit of money. Like my wife is here, she know I remember I spent like my last, I don't know how much was, I don't know, it was like $600, $800 on this like W-Tax jacket. Like, you know, because I just wanted, you know, to look like, you know what I'm saying, something on the stage, and I had and I performed at SOB, sold out show, nice. You know what I'm saying? And that's when it really took to me, and there was other people on the bill, but I really saw that it was like a large amount of people that was there for me, and that knew, you know, knew my music, and I was like, man, this is it. You know what I'm saying? And then everything started moving.
So one thing that I noticed you didn't mention was your time at A-Life?
Oh yeah.
And you started did you start really establishing some relationships there?
I did. You know, at A-Life I was a manager. I don't know if y'all familiar with A-Life, but it was a sneaker store in New York City, like a Supreme. I'm sure y'all know what Supreme is, but it was like that. We were like the first of like those kind of like streetwear boutiques. Yeah, that's what you would say. And everybody came in there. You know, everybody from DJ Clark Kent, may he rest in peace, to Sylvia Rome, to Drake, Nipsey Hussle. Just any and everybody would come through there. You know, it was a destination that, you know, was like a spot for not only tourists but locals and it was a hangout spot too, because we had leather couches and carpets and chandeliers, and you know, it was cool. And then in the back we had a courtyard in the back where they would actually have artists. So I'm there working, and Questlove, you know, the drummer for the Roots, he like puts out a sneaker, and we like this, and I'm selling his sneaker next to him. You know, like they don't know nothing I do. You know, they just like, he work here. You know? So and then eventually it was dope because I ended up performing with the Roots at I think the Best Buy Theater on 42nd Street.
That's
you know
dope.
what I mean?
Full circle, right?
Full circle and stuff like that. You know, same with Nipsey. Nipsey, you know, I ended up making music with him, and you know, that was my brother. He used to come in. I used to give him, you know, free clothes. You know what I mean?
And I was going to ask you how that. So that came from that relationship. Came
really,
from,
it started there.
Wow. So how important is it? Because I think everyone here, you know, a lot of times in the industry they talk about it's not what you know, it's who you know. How true is that statement for you?
I think it's a lot. I think it's very true. So say that it's very important of the people you meet, the people you you know, have relationships with, you stay close to, and treat everybody, you know, well, obviously, because just like that saying goes, you never know where people gonna be. I'm sure those guys never knew that I would be a rapper next to them when I was selling sneakers, you know what I'm saying?
So you're in New York, you're creating music, but how important was it for you to create music that still kept you rooted with the Midwest sound?
It was very important. Funny story, when I first started making music, you know, I would talk about Northeast Ohio and, you know, the 330 and just Massillon, where I'm from. And I vividly remember, like, a lot of my friends from New York, like, bro, what you talking about? You're not from Ohio, you from Brooklyn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you from East New York. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, like, I mean, honestly, like I said, because I lived in, I thugged it. You know what I'm saying? So I was living in places and hanging out in places I had no business living, you know what I'm saying, in New York. So they were looking at it like, there's no way you're from Ohio and you was in East New York or you was in Brownsville, you know, like these places. But yeah, no, it was very important because my city isn't known for music. It's known for high school football, you know. We have people that's in the NFL right now. You know what I mean? It's like every year we got people coming out of that school going D1, going into the NFL. So I just wanted to make a mark musically for my city. I wanted to bring a light to small cities and small towns and let kids and people that come from these areas know that they can make it as long as they, you know, put in the time and the grind and put in the effort. That was really my main goal, is to let people know we have a voice, we have something to say, and what we say can resonate throughout the world.
Nice. Okay, so, you know, behind us we have a few of your covers for projects. Intelligent Trunk Music, let's talk about that real quick, which was, I mean, you know, a lot of people say that was like the classic, right? That was one of the records that really took you kind of mainstream amongst them. But BJ, I know you got some insight, because I don't want you just sitting here, bro. Like, I know you got a lot of insight on this. I want you to kind of, you know, you and Stalley kind of discuss what that whole project meant to you, Stalley, but also like some of the insight that you know from behind the scenes that most people might not know.
For sure. So with Lincoln Way Nights and Intelligent Trunk Music, it was around the time when Stalley was recording at DD 172 Dame Dash Studios with his whole creative space out there with Currency, Wiz Khalifa, Smoke DZA, Jay Electronica, Black Keys, Mos Def, you know, just Erykah Badu. Is just so many artists just coming there, you know, just doing a whole collaboration thing, you know what I'm saying, and just creating music. But around that time, though, that's around the time when Stalley and I first met, and he was like, man, BJ, he was like, man, I really want my sound to kind of be centered more towards the Midwest or whatever, kind of like what you were saying earlier. And he was like, man, I got this idea called Intelligent Trunk Music, because, you know, I'm trying to say something with my lyrics, but the music gonna slap. Just like, he was like, it's gonna beat the trunk up, just like how, you know, it was when I was, you know, walking around as a kid in Ohio. And I was like, man, it's funny you say that, because I know a producer. I was like, I know a producer that got the sound that you need. And he's from Ohio. And his style was like, he was really shocked. He was like, wow, like, come on, man, what's the irony of that? And so I was like, nah, I was like, check this out, Style. Take this mixtape. It was, shout out to Rashad in the third. It was the mixtape, classic mixtape for me, called The Club in My Car. And so I was like, yeah, take this mixtape, sit on that for a second, and, you know, let me know what you think. Man, he called back immediately. He's like, yo, BJ, I gotta meet Rashad. I gotta meet Rashad. But little did he know, as soon as that I was giving him the mixtape, I was already on the phone with Rashad. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, Rashad, hey, I gotta link you up with my boy Stalley. He was like, oh yeah, the one that got the beard, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, he from Ohio. He was like, yeah, I'm hip. He was like, yo, let's make that happen. So that was the beginning of Intelligent Trunk Music. And, you know, I know we're here, you know, not only celebrating Stalley, but, you know, celebrating you guys and, you know, your career choices with audio engineering, songwriting, and stuff like that. So what we kind of wanted to do, just real quick, not taking too much time, is that talk about the recording process of some of these albums, right? So, and starting with Lincoln Way Nights, you know, tell them a little bit about that recording process, and I can chime in as needed as well, too.
So, yeah, real quick, I mean, BJ told that story perfectly about introducing me, and I thought that was it just blew my mind, because exactly what I was hearing in my head, this guy, this producer, Rashad, had that exact sound and was from Ohio. So, man, again, thugging it. I'm living, my wife right back there now, you know what I mean? We had a baby, newborn. We living in the basement of her parents' house. Bed, baby's bed right next to us, like, you know, nothing. And we got another guy named Dan who was like helping on the management side. And shout out to Dan. And Dan was like, and I told Dan, yo, I want to create my own sound. I want it to be Intelligent Trunk Music. And Dan's like, what we got to do to make it happen? I met this producer, BJ introduced me to him. He's incredible. He's down to work. I think he can do it. Dan used to pay for my flights from New York to Ohio. And we used to go and record in Rashad's mom's basement, like, you know, so, you know, and we literally recorded that whole project in the basement of his mom's house. And I would, you know, fly out there, write the records, or sometimes I would, we wouldn't have enough time, or we would, we would flesh out an idea, and I wasn't able to maybe finish it on the spot, so I'd take it back home with me. He'll send me some other beats through email, like in the process. I would write, go back. We just did that, you know. And I would say that process maybe took, I want to say maybe a month.
Yeah,
maybe a month.
Yeah.
And then we got the project done. And then, we released it. And again, shout out to my wife. She was working at a store called Mishka. I don't know if y'all familiar with that, but that was also a streetwear store in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And this was around the time when, like, it was big with artists to collab with stores and put out mixtapes. Like Kid Cudi did, like, the 10 Deep project. I don't know if y'all remember that. Oh, y'all might be too young. But you know, like, but that was a thing, you know. And so we partnered with Mishka, put out Lincoln Way Nights, and it took off. Like, it just blew up for me, and I just started being everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, my phone, people started really calling my phone and flying me to do shows, like, really, like, all over the world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, and then after that was
the Savage Journey. After that was Savage Journey to American Dream. So that this is one of my favorite mixtapes too. A great time and I feel like in his musical journey. That's maybe why he called it Savage Journey to American Dream. But yeah, man. So it had a lot of dope producers there, and who engineered that? Was that CP?
Oh, no. Young Guru.
Young Guru.
Yeah,
So for some of you guys that don't know who Young Guru is Jay-Z's premier, you know, engineer. I see your guys shaking. Yeah. So coming off of the hype of, you know, Lincoln Way Nights, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, he had numerous people reaching out. And, you know, Young Guru was one of the ones, shout out to Young Guru too, that took a real good liking to him, and, you know, he mixed the whole project.
Yeah, he actually did it for free and said he wanted to, you know, like, do it. He was like, you know, I mess with what you're doing. I love, like, your sound, the energy. He loved the message in my, you know, my lyrics and what I was rapping about. And he was like, I just want to be a part of it. And he literally came to the studio with us and mixed the whole thing.
Yeah. So go ahead. So okay, moving forward, you know what I'm saying? All right. So one project that's not up there is Honest Cowboy. Honest Cowboy was kind of, you know, in between, you know, Stalley, you know, his record deal with Atlantic Records or whatever. And a great recording experience to me as well too. You know, he was recording at, you know, like upstate New York, and like we call it the Mountain or whatever. And, you know, it was almost like a recording retreat, like different producers and stuff, from like DJ Quick to Bink, and you know, you talk about that.
Large Professor.
Yeah, they were coming up.
Yeah, DJ Quick was cooking us breakfast.
What he cooked?
That is. I mean, he'd be proud because he loved to cook. You know, that was his thing. But, you know, shout out to DJ Quick. But the person's house it is, and I'm sorry because I always forget his name, but he sung the song "I Am Barely Breathing." I know y'all heard this song before because they play it in like Walgreens and all that. Like, nah, it's one of them songs. You know, he's somebody who got like a Grammy and a Tony and all that.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah, Duncan Sheik. That's his name. Yeah, so shout out to Duncan. It was actually his house. He let us rent it out. We had it for what, 3 months?
Yeah, we had it for a while.
Yeah, I had it for 3 months. So like a whole summer basically. And beautiful big, you know, big house. Like sitting on acres with a pool and all that. It was dope. But great experience, like you said, a lot of producers, a lot of engineers, a lot of other artists came through and just kind of spent time with me, whether it was a day or whether it was a couple of weeks. Like Pete Rock would come up there every now and then because he lived in Westchester and we were in like Garrison, and so it wasn't too far. So he would pop in and out. Yeah, man, it was just a beautiful experience, great time. Soundtrack was one of the producers who stayed the whole time with me. And Soundtrack is if y'all not familiar with him, he did Superstar for Lupe Fiasco. He produced that. And all of like Lupe's like first 2 albums actually, like Food and Liquor and The Cool, he produced. So shout out to him as well. Yeah, dope.
Yep. So,
and a thing going back to Savage Journey. So I told y'all I was thugging it. So now I'm not thugging it. And I'm living in Brooklyn. Yeah, I'm just saying. At that time, I had just signed to Atlantic and MMG, and I had got a condo in Brooklyn, like downtown, not too far from Long Island University where I went to school at, which was dope. It was like in Dumbo like area, and I wrote that whole project in my kitchen in like 6 days. But that's how inspired I was because I finally was seeing the
fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out to let y'all know the hard work
it
started
paid off,
to kick
right?
in. Yeah.
And then from there, recording in a huge house on
exactly.
the mountain, and then didn't you go and which project did you record with at Ross's house?
Well.
Or was it one?
It started. Ohio started at Ross's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then just transitioned.
Yes.
Got you.
Back to New York, right?
Yeah. So like what? Yeah. So the last one, or not the last one, but this one, Ohio. That was like my first debut album on Atlantic Records, and I recorded a lot of that at Rick Ross's house in Atlanta. And then we transitioned back to New York because we brought back in Rashad, who we was talking about from Lincoln Way Nights from the first project. We brought back in him to do some of the music, some of the production on it. And so we basically recorded in Alicia Keys' studio in New York City.
Yep.
Okay, and then what about the last project that we got up there?
Gambler.
Now we're in an era now where like the industry's changed so much. A lot of people aren't tracking in huge studios like this for a simple project. You can record it yourself. Are you at a place where now it's do it yourself a little bit and then
It's definitely do it yourself for sure. But so with Gambler, it's called Gambler Sugargaten. And it's a Swedish street.
Okay, I was about to ask you, what is the name?
Church Street. Okay. And the reason why I named it because it was mixed and mastered on that street.
In Sweden. Is that with
and that's with CP.
CP from Block Beaters.
From Block Beaters.
Nice.
Who was also a big influence and part of Savage Journey. And so now, fast forward, I'm back thugging it. I'm independent. And, shout out to my guy, Queso. I'm not going to call him, nothing because he don't, but he actually taught me how to record myself and be self-sufficient. And I love him for that. And I appreciate him for that because, before it was all I was doing was coming to studios, paying for studios or coming to, big studios like this. And he was like, man, you got to learn how to record yourself. Like you got to figure, you got to be more, like you said, times have changed.
Yeah.
You're an independent artist now. You got to be able to put out the production at a high level and a faster, and just being faster in general. Yeah. So he taught me how to record myself, and I got my own studio set up in my house now. And I have like a full studio / game room set up where I spend every day on games, and I just rap and play games, and I love it. And so that project I recorded myself. I tracked every vocal. I wrote everything, recorded everything. Use Pro Tools. That's all I know how to use. I only know how to do so much. And then after I do that, and again, shout out to him. It's so awesome because he set up a template for me where I just got to turn it on, load up the beat,
plug and play, right? He's like, I'm ready to go.
What I'm saying? And it's so ill that once I'm done, I just hit save and it goes into a folder that's already all my music. So it's like, it's like a specific, like that says like Stalley Sessions or something. So it goes automatically there. I just send that to them, and then I send it out to get mixed and mastered. So if that's what I do now.
If it doesn't go to that folder, are you just lost?
I'm calling him.
Where's it going?
I'm calling him like, what happened?
All right, so
And I believe what you do is like after you mix everything, you can just put it in this software and it will master it for you,
master
right?
it. Yeah,
and it will figure out like all the best volumes and I mean like levels and certain things like that. So yeah, we use that with that, but. CP, who's over in Sweden, he was the one that initially just mixed everything.
Yeah, and if you guys don't know CP with Block Beaters, he's actually from Huntsville, which is right down the street. And I mean, he's done some amazing work. I mean, Block Beaters are crazy. Their production.
They're amazing.
So, so we're at a place now. You said, like your guy had told you, you got to move quicker. Be self-sufficient, do it yourself, kind of. And with things now, the industry now is so different compared to, I mean, not even when you first dropped, but just from a few years ago.
A few months ago.
Right? So that things are moving so quick. It's almost like you got to keep up with the algorithm, trying to drop. But you don't follow that. Like you do your own thing. Do you feel like that? Does it kind of hurt you, or do you feel like it's just like I'm gonna do it my way and it works for you?
Yeah, I don't think anything hurts me because that's the beauty of art. Like that's the beauty of like when you making music and you songwriting. And I've been blessed to have some amazing supporters of my music and people who have followed me throughout my career. And I think they kind of understand and get my personality a little bit, on how I market and promote myself, or even how I release music and things like that. Can I do more? Always, because we live in a time where more is more. What I'm saying? Like it's just what it is, and you gotta pump out things at a high value. And so I think that I'm a little bit stubborn, in my ways. I'll admit that. But I also like to do things my way, especially when it comes to my art and when it comes to creating. And I want it to be presented and I want it to be heard in a certain way. I can't control that narrative all the time, and I'm learning that because sometimes, you want things to be heard and seen and felt by people, but you can't never dictate the way people hear or feel about whatever it is you're doing. And again, Erykah Badu said, artists, we sensitive about it. Watch what you say. But, I can take, constructive criticism or criticism in general. I tell people all the time, like, I understand when somebody says they don't like my music or they don't listen to my music or whatever. Like, I don't see it a lot. But if I see it, no, but seriously, if I see it, I don't mind it because I'm the same way. I don't like a lot of shit. You know what I mean? So I get it. You know what I'm saying? But, and it's all subjective. So I just try to present myself in a way that represents me in the purest form, in the most sincere, natural, organic, whatever word you want to use. That's how I want to deliver it and give it to my fans. And I just hope that they can, accept it.
Yeah. So just be true to yourself, pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah. That's the main thing. You hear it all the time, but it's really the true point. It's like just stay true to yourself, believe in what you believe. It will always penetrate.